The first time I realized my married neighbor was pursuing me, I was standing in my kitchen at 7 in the morning, still in my pajamas with yesterday's mascara smudged under my eyes when she knocked on my door with a plate of fresh croissants and a smile that lasted 3 seconds too long. "I baked too many," Anna said, her diamond wedding ring catching the early sunlight as she held out the plate, her manicured fingers steady despite the deliberate intensity in her eyes. "Thought you might want some. You mentioned loving French pastries at the building meeting last month, except I hadn't mentioned that at the building meeting. I'd said it 6 weeks ago in the elevator, a casual comment about missing the bakery near my old apartment in the city." She'd remembered. She'd been paying attention in ways I hadn't noticed until that moment, standing there in my doorway in pajamas that suddenly felt too thin, while her husband's black Mercedes pulled out of their driveway across the street for his morning commute. And I realized with a mix of flattery and alarm that this wasn't neighborly kindness, this was deliberate. This was the beginning of something I should have stopped right then, but didn't. Tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. And if stories like mine resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel reach people navigating complicated situations they never expected to face, finding themselves in moral gray areas they're not sure how to escape. My name is Morgan Ellis, and 6 months before that croissant morning, I'd moved to Maplewood, a quiet suburb 30 minutes outside Portland, after ending a 5-year relationship that had slowly suffocated every interesting part of me. I was 29, a freelance graphic designer who could work from anywhere, and after years of living for someone else's expectations, I wanted peace, simplicity, a fresh start where nobody knew my history or had opinions about my choices. The duplex I rented was perfect for that. Small but cozy, with hardwood floors that creaked pleasantly and a garden I could actually use without a landlord's restrictions. On a tree-lined street where everyone said hello and kids played kickball until the streetlights came on. Normal, safe, exactly what I needed after the chaos of my previous life. Anna Winters lived directly across from me with her husband Marcus and their 7-year-old daughter Sophie. She was 34, a stay-at-home mom with perfectly styled blonde hair that probably required 2 hours and 4 products to achieve. Expensive athleisure wear that made even grocery runs look like fashion shoots, and the kind of put-together appearance that made me feel perpetually underdressed even when I tried. Marcus was a corporate lawyer gone from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. most days, home on weekends to mow their perfect lawn and coach Sophie's soccer team, while Anna stood on the sidelines with the other moms looking like an advertisement for suburban success. They had the colonial house with the wraparound porch, the golden retriever, the expensive cars. Everything that's supposed to equal happiness. The first time I met Anna was my second day in the neighborhood. A Saturday in early spring when I was unloading boxes from my car and questioning every life decision that had led to me owning this much random stuff. I was sweating through an old college t-shirt, hair in a messy bun, when she appeared at the end of my driveway like she'd been waiting for the right moment. She wore white jeans that probably cost more than my monthly rent and carried a bottle of wine with a label I couldn't pronounce. "Welcome to Maplewood." Her smile was bright and practiced, the kind you perfect after years of PTA meetings and neighborhood associations. "I'm Anna, I live right there." She pointed to the pristine colonial across the street, where Sophie was drawing on the driveway with chalk and Marcus was washing his car with methodical precision. "If you need anything, absolutely anything, I'm home most days, really. Anything at all." There was an emphasis on that last anything. A slight lean forward, a way her eyes held mine a beat longer than strangers usually do, but I didn't think much about it at the time. I was tired, overwhelmed, and grateful for human kindness. "That's so nice, thank you." "I'm Morgan." I accepted the wine, our fingers brushing in a way that felt deliberate on her end, but maybe I was imagining things. "I love your garden," Anna continued, not leaving. "Are you a gardener?" Because the previous tenant just let it go to weeds, and it always bothered me looking at it from my kitchen window. "I'd love to help if you want. I'm excellent with roses." The offer was generous. Too generous for someone I'd known 3 minutes. But I was new and lonely and said yes. Over the next month, Anna was everywhere. She'd wave from her porch when I left for morning runs, calling out comments about the weather or my running shoes. She'd text me about neighborhood events like the summer block party and the 4th of July barbecue, somehow having gotten my number from the building association's welcome packet. She'd bring over things she claimed she didn't need anymore. Sophie's outgrown books when she saw me reading in my garden. A lamp that didn't match our aesthetic anymore, but was exactly what my living room needed. Kitchen gadgets she'd bought duplicates of by accident. "I just know you'd appreciate these more than Goodwill," she'd say, lingering at my fence, asking questions that felt both casual and carefully calculated. What kind of design work did I do? What had brought me to Maplewood? Did I have family nearby? What had happened with my previous relationship? Was I seeing anyone now? No one serious, I'd answered honestly that first month, still raw from the breakup. Just focusing on myself right now. Smart, Anna had said, her eyes holding mine with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Relationships can be so complicated, so much compromise and sacrifice. Sometimes I think being alone would be simpler, cleaner. You get to be entirely yourself. It was an odd thing for a married woman to say standing there in clothes that cost more than my car payment talking about the burden of relationships while her husband pulled weeds and her daughter played with a dog. But I'd brushed it off as suburban ennui. The kind of thing people say when life is comfortable but somehow still unsatisfying. The croissant morning was when things shifted from neighborly to unmistakably intentional. After that, Anna's visits increased in frequency and intimacy. She'd appear at my door at 8 a.m. with coffee because I made too much and Marcus left early. She'd ask me to watch Sophie for an hour while she ran errands, then come back 3 hours later and stay for wine. Sinking into my couch like she belonged there, talking until dark about her frustrations with Marcus and how distant their marriage had become. "He's a good man," she'd say, swirling Pinot Grigio in a glass from her own kitchen that she'd brought over because mine were inappropriate for good wine. "He works hard. He's never been unfaithful. He's an excellent father. But Morgan, I don't think he's actually looked at me, really seen me, in about 5 years. I'm just the woman who manages his household and raises his daughter." I could be anyone. I'd listen, offering sympathy while wondering why she was telling me this instead of a therapist or her friends. But she claimed she had no real friends, just other mothers she performed compatibility with at school functions. "You're the first person I've talked to in years who actually listens," she said one evening, her hand settling on my knee in a gesture that wasn't quite platonic. "Everyone else just wants me to be grateful for what I have. The house, the husband, the life. But you understand what it's like to feel invisible in your own existence." I did understand. That's exactly why I'd left my ex. But I was starting to realize Anna wasn't just looking for understanding. She was looking for something else, something I wasn't sure I should give. 3 months into living there, I couldn't deny it anymore. Anna was actively, deliberately pursuing me. The touches that lingered on my arm when she laughed at my jokes. The way she'd lean close when we talked, close enough that I could smell her expensive perfume. Something floral and deliberate that probably cost $200 an ounce. The text that came late at night when Marcus was on business trips. "Can't sleep. Mind if I come over? Just for an hour?" I hate being alone in that house at night. I should have set boundaries. Should have said no. Reminded her she was married with a child. Created the distance any reasonable person would create. But there was something magnetic about her attention. Something that felt like validation after years of feeling invisible. Having someone this beautiful, this put together, pursue me this intensely was intoxicating. It made me feel wanted in a way I hadn't felt in years, even though every rational part of my brain knew this was dangerous territory. 4 months in, Anna asked me to join her book club. "It's mostly an excuse to drink wine and gossip," she admitted. "But I want you there. I want my friends to meet you." I went. Sat in someone's perfectly decorated living room with 6 suburban moms who all seemed to know each other's histories and secrets. Anna sat next to me, close enough that our thighs touched, her hand occasionally settling on my knee when she made a point about the book we were supposedly discussing. The other women noticed. I saw the looks they exchanged, the slight eyebrow raises, the knowing smiles. They knew something I was just beginning to understand. After the book club, one of the women, Janet, pulled me aside. "Be careful with Anna," she said quietly.
She's been unhappy for years, and when Anna's unhappy, she fixates on things.
Or people. I'm not judging, I'm just saying, be careful. The warning should have scared me straight. Instead, it confirmed what I'd been wondering. Anna wanted me. Had maybe wanted me since the day I moved in. And despite knowing it was wrong, despite understanding the consequences, I couldn't say I didn't want her back. The turning point came on a Saturday night in late summer. Marcus had taken Sophie to his mother's house 3 hours away for the weekend. Some family reunion Anna had declined attending with an excuse about work deadlines for her occasional freelance interior design projects. She texted me at 9 p.m. Marcus gone till Sunday evening. Come over for wine? Please. I hate being alone in this house. It feels like a museum of a life I don't recognize anymore. I should have said no. Should have invented an excuse, maintained the boundaries. But I'd spent all day watching her move around her house through the windows, and I was tired of pretending I didn't want what she was offering, whatever that was. So I went. Walked across the street at 9:15, my heart pounding, telling myself we were just friends, just neighbors having wine and conversation. Nothing inappropriate, nothing that would hurt anyone. Anna opened the door in jeans and a silk top that definitely wasn't her usual casual wear. Her hair down in waves around her shoulders instead of her typical practical ponytail. She'd lit candles throughout the house, opened an expensive bottle of red wine, and the whole scene felt deliberately staged for seduction. "Thank you for coming," she said, pulling me into a hug that lasted too long, her body pressed against mine in a way that felt less friendly and more desperate. "You have no idea how much I look forward to seeing you. How much you've changed everything. You're the only thing that makes living here bearable." We drank wine on her expensive couch in her expensive living room that looked like something from a magazine spread. We talked about art and books and the dreams she abandoned when she married Marcus at 26 because he was stable and successful and everything her parents wanted for her. "I wanted to be a designer," she admitted, refilling both our glasses. "Real design, not just picking out throw pillows for other people's homes." I had a portfolio, applications to programs in New York and Paris, but then I met Marcus and he was so certain about everything, so ready to build a life, and I convinced myself that being practical was the same as being happy. "Do you regret it?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "Every single day." She looked at me then with raw honesty I hadn't seen before. "Except now." "Right now, with you, I don't regret anything because it led me here. To this moment. Somewhere around midnight, with the second bottle empty and the house so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Anna reached across the minimal distance between us and took my hand. Her palm was warm, her grip steady despite what I knew had to be nerves. "Morgan, I need to tell you something, and I'm absolutely terrified because I could lose you completely, and that would destroy me. But I can't keep pretending anymore." My throat was tight. "Anna, what are you doing?" "I'm in love with you." The words hung between us, impossible and undeniable and changing everything. "I know I'm married. I know this is insane and wrong and complicated. But I haven't felt alive in years until you moved across the street. I think about you constantly. Dream about you. I watch for you out my windows like some obsessed teenager. I engineer excuses to see you. I can't stop and I don't want to, and I'm done pretending this is just friendship." I should have pulled away. Should have reminded her about Marcus, about Sophie, about the life she'd built. "You're married," I managed. "You have a daughter. A husband who trusts you." "I know, and I've tried to ignore this. I've tried to be satisfied with my life. But Morgan, I'm drowning in that marriage. Marcus doesn't see me, hasn't touched me in over a year, treats me like an employee he's moderately fond of. Sophie is literally the only reason I've stayed this long. But you make me feel like a person again. Like I matter beyond what I can provide or organize or manage. This can't happen. We can't do this. I know." But she was crying, tears running down her face, mascara smudging. And when I reached instinctively to wipe her tears, she kissed me. It was desperate and wrong and perfect all at once, her hands in my hair, mine on her waist, months of tension finally breaking. I should have stopped it. Every moral bone in my body knew this was a line we couldn't uncross. But I kissed her back, letting 6 months of wondering and wanting finally have an answer, and we stumbled upstairs to her bedroom to sheets that smelled like expensive detergent, and we did things that would destroy her marriage if anyone ever found out.
Afterwards, lying in the bed she shared with her husband, reality crashed down like cold water. What did we just do?
I whispered, staring at the ceiling, at the framed wedding photo on the dresser, at the evidence of a life we just violated.
Anna turned to face me, her hair messy for maybe the first time since I'd known her, eyes serious and unguarded.
Something I should have done months ago.
Morgan, I want to leave him. I want to file for divorce and be with you properly. You can't blow up your life for me.
We barely know each other. I know you better than I've known anyone in years. And what I feel, it's not going away. I've tried to stop it, tried to talk myself out of it, tried to convince myself it's just boredom or a midlife crisis, but it's not.
This is real. We spent that weekend in a bubble, pretending the outside world didn't exist.
We made breakfast in her kitchen, had sex in every room of her house like we were marking territory,
talked until dawn about what a future together might look like.
But Sunday evening, Marcus's car pulled into the driveway, and Anna returned to being the perfect wife, waving goodbye to me from her porch like we were just neighbors who occasionally borrowed sugar. Except now we had a secret that felt like a bomb ticking between our houses, and I had no idea how to defuse it or if I even wanted to. For 2 months, we carried on an affair that felt equal parts thrilling and devastating. She'd come over when Marcus traveled for business. We'd meet at hotels an hour away when she could claim she was shopping or having lunch with friends. We texted constantly, deleting messages immediately, living in constant fear of discovery.
I fell deeper despite knowing how wrong it was.
Despite the guilt that ate at me every time I saw Marcus wave hello from across the street or Sophie asked me to push her on. The swing set in her backyard, completely unaware that I was sleeping with her mother and destroying her family.
The breaking point came when Anna told Marcus she wanted a divorce.
She didn't tell him about me. Just said she wasn't happy. Hadn't been for years.
Needed to find herself before it was too late. He was completely blindsided.
Angry, confused, threatening to fight for full custody, convinced there must be someone else, even though Anna denied it. And suddenly our secret relationship became ammunition he'd use if he ever found proof. I can't do this, I told Anna one night after another screaming fight with Marcus had sent her fleeing to my house in tears. I can't be the reason your daughter grows up in a broken home. I can't be the woman everyone points at as the homewrecker.
This wasn't supposed to happen like this. You're not the reason, Anna insisted, gripping my hands.
The marriage was dead long before you. You just helped me finally admit it and find the courage to leave. But everyone will think I'm the reason. They'll hate me. Hate us. Let them. Morgan, I love you. I'm choosing you. Choosing myself for the first time in 8 years. That has to mean something. The divorce took 6 months and was uglier than either of us anticipated. It was public and messy, and the neighborhood took sides.
Half thought I was a predatory homewrecker who'd seduced a vulnerable married woman.
The other half had apparently known for years that Anna was miserable and were just glad she'd finally left. Marcus eventually found out about us through text messages Anna had forgotten to delete, and he used it to paint her as an unfit mother in court, claiming she'd abandoned her family for a lesbian affair. But in the end, the judge granted shared custody. Marcus got the house and Anna moved into my duplex with whatever belongings she'd been allowed to take. That was a year ago. Living together wasn't the fantasy we'd imagined during those secret hotel weekends.
We had to navigate Sophie's confusion and anger at her mother for leaving her dad.
Marcus's continued bitterness that poisoned every custody exchange, neighbors who wouldn't speak to us anymore, and the complicated reality of building a real relationship from the wreckage of an affair. Some days I still wonder if we did the right thing, if the damage we caused to everyone around us was worth whatever this is we've built. But then I watch Anna in the garden with Sophie, both of them laughing while planting tomatoes, and I see someone who's finally breathing. Who's teaching her daughter that staying in a loveless marriage isn't brave, it's just slow suffocation. Who's learning what it means to be herself instead of performing happiness for everyone else. And I realize that sometimes love doesn't come in neat, morally simple packages. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and hurts people you never meant to hurt. Sometimes it starts wrong, but becomes right. Sometimes the most honest thing you can do is also the thing that causes the most pain. If you've ever fallen for someone you shouldn't have, if you've ever had to choose between doing what's right and doing what's true to yourself, if you've ever been on either side of a complicated situation with no easy answers or clear victims, I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and please subscribe to help these stories reach people who need to know that complicated doesn't always mean wrong. That gray areas are where most of us actually live, and that judging someone's choices is easy until you're the one making them. Thank you for being here, for listening, for understanding that real life is rarely as simple as we wish it could be.